Time now for the markets with Leighton. You say traders are in position for the August 12th reports?
That's right, Ernest. The long-awaited August crop report is expected to be a market mover. Also in our headlines this week, export demand is solid for soybeans. Mississippi's Cal-Maine Foods sets a record for egg sales as U.S. cattle placements drop in the month of June. In parts of the United States, there are some growing weather concerns as far as this year's soybean crop. Analyst Virgil Robinson says a large-scale problem related to weather may be the only chance to see bean prices improve from where they are now.
I still think it's a little early. We've the month of August here to deal with, and as I mentioned a moment ago, there are select areas that are lagging normal development. So the frost notion will come into play at some point in time. Underlying business has been very good, new crop beans and new crop meal. Processing margins, the way I track them, both old crop and new, are better than they were a year ago at this time. So there is a pretty solid demand structure within the marketplace. But again, as long as we're fixated on this huge crop, it's going to be difficult to generate any kind of significant price recovery unless we have a weather trauma.
Tuesday, the day for the release of that new monthly crop report, it's still expected to be a market mover for corn especially. Analyst Sue Martin says traders have priced in a 170 bushel per acre yield. She says prices could sink even lower.
Some are thinking 308, and there's even some people talking at 2. Well, if you talk at 2, I don't see a 2 in corn. I think it's too cheap. You know, we're feeding livestock heavier, especially hogs. They came in 13.5 pounds heavier this week than a week ago, you know, or a year ago, I should say. And so, you know, you're finding use for all this corn.
We break from the markets to look at the trivia quiz for this week, and here is the question. How many licensed agricultural aviation pilots are there in the state of Mississippi? Is the answer 100, 190, 230, or 262? I'll tell you in a few moments at the end of the markets. Cal-Maine Foods, based in Jackson, says it has sold more than 1 billion dozen fresh eggs in the year that ended May 31st. The company says this is the first time any egg supplier has passed yearly sales of more than 1 billion dozen. And time to check in on the cattle market before we leave. Extension Ag economist Brian Williams has been reviewing the last on-feed report from the USDA. I talked to him about it Thursday morning. Well, did the cattle on-feed report come in close to expectations?
For the most part, it did. Our on-feed numbers, we were expecting around a 2.9% decrease, and we ended up with a 3.4% decrease with around 10.1 million head on feed. Placements were a little off from expectations. We were expecting it to be down about 3.8%, and it was actually down 6.2%. And then our marketings were close. We were expecting down about 2.1%. We ended up down 1.8%.
Now, there were some private analysts that even expected a higher drop in placements than what we saw, right?
Yeah, the range in the placements is probably the hardest one to project. And so the range of estimates was really wide, anywhere from down 8.1% to up 3.5%. But the tight supplies and the good pasture conditions indicate maybe lower placements, but the market was calling for those cattle, so it indicated possibility of higher placements.
Now, that same day, we also had a cattle report come out to kind of help the market move. So.
We did. It gave us an idea of kind of our inventory numbers. We didn't see this report a year ago, but they had one in January. But our herd size, current beef herd size, is about 29.7 million head compared to 29 million head in January. But the number of importance there, I think, is the placements, where we've got 4.1 million head of placements, replacement heifers, and that was compared to 5.5 million head of replacement heifers in January.
All right, overall, where do we see prices trending for cattle at this point, would you say?
Well, we're still, on our feeder market, we're still seeing kind of a bullish trend. We're entering the fall where a lot of calves could be coming onto the market. And so there's a seasonal possibility of a downtrend, but I don't think it's going to be too much just because of the tight supplies that we have right now.
I would say the main factor, those supplies remain tight.
Right.
Well, before the feature story, let's check the trivia answer for this week. The correct choice is C. There are approximately 230 licensed ag aviation pilots in Mississippi.